Hi, welcome to Coco's World, where we dive deep into knocking life the F out. I'm your host, Carlisha Stokes. Hey guys, welcome to Coco's World for season 1. I would love to welcome my dear friend Jada here. Before we get started, I'm going to do a brief introduction of who she is and what she's about. Jada's a dog mom, a creator, reader, and interior or world traveler, and an upcoming interior designer. Before I allow Jada to explain more of herself, Jada's the one who has always inspired me to always be true to myself and to live authentically in my power. And for that, I'm forever grateful. So without further ado, hey Jada, thank you for being
Hey,
here
thank
today.
you. That was such a great introduction and so sweet. Thank
You're
you.
so welcome.
That
And
means a lot.
thank you because it means a lot that you're here today. And also, all of the beautiful things that life has brought you through thus far since I've known you. I'm honestly inspired by you every day.
Oh, thank you. I'm inspired by you too. I'm very, very proud of you.
Well, thank
Very
you. Same
proud.
here. Same here. So, I'm going to give you the floor to just share anything that I left out or just some further information that you would like to let our audience know about yourself.
Okay. Well, I'm Jada. I enjoy traveling, spending time with my dogs, going out to eat. I'm from Easley, South Carolina, but I live in Charlotte now. I've been here about 9 or 10 years. Um, a little too long.
It's been that long.
I know. I'm in orthodontic marketing. I am also in school to become an interior designer. And what else? I like to play tennis. I love reading. I have a book club. Yeah, I could go on, but I
You can
won't.
keep going on. I mean, this is your moment. But honestly, you're just so cross functional. And I think that that is awesome because, when we met, we were like teenagers, we were in high school. And I'll give a little backstory of how we met. Little did we know, like she said, she went to Easley High School. My original family, like my dad's family, is from Easley, South Carolina. And my grandmother and her grandmother were good friends, but we did not know each other then. We met actually from my mom and her other grandmother being good friends as well. So it was kind of meant to be.
Small world.
It was a really small world, two separate paths of life, of families and everything, and then we were just meant to be. And then we ended up being roommates a little in college, which we'll talk about a little bit down the road in the interview. And yeah, she's just been a friend that we can go months without speaking to each other and then just pick right back up where we left off, and I think that's just so beautiful.
Yeah, you need those friendships, especially when you're an adult now and so much is going on. Life is life, and
Girl, tell me about it. Adulting, no one prepared us for it. So, tell us a little bit of about your childhood. Well, you grew up in Easley, but did you actually live in Easley your whole life?
yeah, I lived in Easley, Pickens, and
Oh, I know you lived in Pitt.
Simpsonville. Yeah, I went to 3 different high schools.
I did not know that.
Yeah, that's why everybody knows me apparently. I mean, I don't know why, but
Jada is very popular. She's very,
I, I don't think so. I think it's also the internet too. Not that I'm internet famous or anything, but I think that's how like people started to, connect and,
that's very,
notice
that's
other
very.
people. Yeah, yeah.
So, which high school did you go to in Simpsonville? Because I knew nothing about
Hillcrest. I graduated from Hillcrest. I went to Hillcrest for 3 months.
Jada. I for years thought that you graduated as a Green Wave. Why
No,
am I
I
just
was supposed to because I didn't tell anybody.
Oh my God. So how was your experience at Hillcrest? Because everyone that goes there hates it. So I'm just wondering if it was
I mean,
different.
I was only there for 3 months and I became friends with these two other girls, and it was like go to class or we would just hang out with each other. You met Kiera.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't know
Yeah,
she was at Hillcrest either. I thought she was,
yeah.
I don't know why I thought everyone was from Easley. I'm
Oh,
just
no, no,
like
no.
embarrassed now. I
So
mean,
I really can't give you my experience on Hillcrest because I transferred so late in my senior year and I didn't have many classes because I had already taken my core classes, that it was just really the main classes that I needed. And then I left either early or I went to school late.
now that I'm thinking about it, second half of senior years when I got in the car accident. So I was I was homeschooled my last stretch of school as well, and then we went on our senior trip. I don't know how
Yeah.
we talked about where we was graduating, but I found your graduation. You know how we all went to Portraits Innovations, and your graduation picture. And I literally had this whole conversation with my mom because I was like, "Why did Jada have a black and burgundy or red cap and gown?" And she was like, I don't know, like maybe she borrowed it or something for the portraits. And I said, that makes no sense because she went to Easley and she graduated and their colors are green and white. So that makes so much sense because I just had this conversation with my mama. I was like, Mom, what happened? And she was like, I don't know, like maybe something, I don't know. So, all right. So, childhood, you went to 3 high schools. I knew nothing. I'm learning something new about my friend. And then
I'm
how
very low key.
are. I cannot believe that. And we lived together for like a year, and you never said you did not graduate from Easley.
You never asked.
I'm so stuck right now. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I have a lot to learn. I have a some. This is about to be great. All right. So, did you see yourself doing what you do now when you're a child?
No, I didn't. I think when I was, I wanted to be a boxer so bad.
Like a boxer, a fighter.
And then I was like, oh no, I can't do that. I can't be nobody ass. Let me see. And then I thought I was gonna, what else did I think I was gonna do? I think everyone has like the generic
I thought I was.
idea of a job like a teacher or a doctor or something like that. But honestly, like my senior year, I had no idea what I really wanted to do because I like really wasn't exposed to like my options.
Right.
I didn't even want to go to college, to be honest. I wanted to go to Greenville Tech and stay at home and then kind of figure that out, which is what I should have done. But no, I didn't think I'd be doing what I'm doing now at all.
It's so crazy because I feel like we were part of the generation where it was like you go to high school, you graduate, you go to college, and none of us knew what the hell we really wanted to do because
Yeah.
I mean I do data analysis, but I'm not happy doing it. So it's like I'm doing it because yeah, it pays the bills, but reality is I feel like our generation is the generation of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Our parents were okay with working 9 to 5s, getting a pension and calling it a day, and I love that for them. But I'm not. I just don't feel like it's fair for us to live our whole entire life to work for someone, and then by the time we are of age or we're wealthy enough to live our life, it's close to our bones are broken down. Life is just too short, and
Yeah,
so
to actually enjoy it.
yeah. And I'm like, and also I just feel like our parents would probably look at me and be like, Carly, we had hard times. But I feel like the millennials have hit so many hard times against us that it requires us to kind of go into that creative state of,
Yeah,
okay,
you gotta learn how to pivot
yeah,
and like move on.
yeah,
I honestly feel like um there needs to be at least a year or so in between high school and college to where you can explore different things. That's kind of why I wanted to leave where I was from because I feel like there are limited options to what I'm exposed to. So, after my freshman year of college, I sat out a year and then I moved here and then I ended up going to a community college.
hmm
And then through that community college, I studied abroad for a summer in Peru. And that's kind of when my travels began. And I was like, I'm addicted to this. Granted, I felt like I was traveling to get away from things and because it was just like easier to deal with life, just being somewhere else other than actually dealing with yourself and the problems at hand. But yeah, that's how that started. And I think that's what gave me most of my experience and my knowledge is like traveling and like I'm glad I did stay in school because that also helped. But I would say traveling definitely is like something I would encourage people to do while they're young because you can learn so much.
I I couldn't agree more with you. Just because I have not traveled as much as you has. I mean, we're going to talk about all the places you've been, which is just beautiful. But I genuinely feel that seeing other ways of living, one, humbles you of how lucky we are of the resources that we do have, but also it allows you to see how beautiful life and nature and just realistically the earth is, and how different, people will be like, oh, I'm just living my best life here in South Carolina, North Carolina. And I'm like, bro, you have never seen what true beauty of life looks like until you travel overseas and see the different cultures, the different foods, the fresh food compared to
How
what we
simple life is, how relaxed. Like, yeah, they may not have everything that we have, but at the same time, they also aren't dealing with the same expectations.
yeah.
So,
Great. I mean, just as simple as when I was in Puerto Rico, learning how long they have for maternity leave compared to what we get in the United States. And I'm like,
yeah. How long did they get?
they get 3 years.
Mm,
And I'm like, that is amazing. I mean, I know like over in Europe, I've heard it's either 3 to 5 years. I have neighbors that are Bulgarian, and they have like a 3 to 5 year maternity leave stance. Well, I'm like, hell, we get 6 weeks, sometimes 12 weeks. And I feel like the first year to 2 years of a child's life is the most essential. And we never get considered, well, I mean, women here is just kind of like, that's a whole topic for another day. But I just feel like it's just beautiful, something as simple as that we feel like, oh, it's a privilege that I have 6 weeks to be with my baby, whereas in a whole different country, I mean,
yeah,
it's not even a different country, it's a territory, and they're allotting their people, 3 years.
right.
That's just beautiful. So yes, I agree with you. And then now, so you are the founder of many things, such as your book club. How did you come up with B3?
So B3 stands for Black and Brown Bibliophiles. It started, I had started picking up reading again, and then my friends was like, oh, like, I want to read more too. I was like, oh, let's do a book club. So I think it originally started with 4 or 6 of us, like 3 years ago, 2 years ago. I don't know. I don't know if we're turning 2 or 3
That's
next
awesome.
year. But yeah. So it started with like 4 or 6 of us for like about a year and a half, and then eventually more people started joining. Some of the original members were a little hesitant to let people in because it is a safe space. We do read primarily books by Black and Brown authors. So it does talk about a lot of touching topics that we have experienced or that our ancestors have experienced. So we do like try to keep that a safe space and just be open minded. So far it's mostly women. We have had one guy in there, but I think it's just beautiful to see a bunch of women from everywhere come together and can connect because you never know what people are going through, based on their social media or what they tell you. But like being able to share those lived experiences and connect with someone is just so beautiful. Um, we have quite a bit of people in Texas. I think we have like 3 or 4 in Dallas. We have some in Houston. We have somebody in Nebraska, South Carolina, obviously, North Carolina. I'm trying to think. Yeah.
So how did you start that outreach? Was it just strictly social media, word of mouth?
It was word of mouth because I was just posting the books I was reading and people were like, oh, like I want to join. So at first it was kind of like a vetting process. It was like, oh, do you know this person? Da 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 da. And then after a while, we just kind of opened it up. Like if they're serious about being here, they'll show up for themselves and then they'll show up for us. So far it's been great. So we pick a book and we take about 4 to 5 weeks to read that book, but we do meet every week. And everyone's not obligated to join every meeting or to read every book. It's just pop in whenever you can, whenever you want to. It is virtual, so I think that's one of makes it easier for us to, hop on and connect. So yeah.
Have you ever thought about like doing a meetup?
We meet up every month.
Okay. So even the people in Dallas?
No, I want to do that once a year. So I am planning a B3 retreat for August. So I'm hoping that goes as planned because it is a lot with people being out for the summer or, trying to plan their summer vacation. and I don't want to impose on like taking time off and stuff like that. So I'm trying to plan a weekend in August where everyone who wants to come to Charlotte can. And then hopefully the next couple of years it'll be in different places.
I love that. I love that. And also, I thank you for creating a safe space for Black and Brown individuals, because I didn't realize until recently that going to a bookstore and just specifically looking for a book that looks like you, or can resonate with the things that you're going through, because I started back reading last year, and I realized how uncomfortable it made me. Like, and I never, because usually a lot of times I'll just order a book out of, Target, and I'm like, okay, keep it moving. But I started going to this place here called Mr. K's, which I had never known that what Mr. K's was, but it's been around for years. And Shelby was like, Carly, you don't know what Mr. K's? And I said, no, I mean, I'm just now finding out just like you are. Like, well, we have one in Tennessee. I can't believe you didn't know this. Well, when I went in, I was looking for The Light You Carry by Michelle Obama, and there was a couple of other books that I had ended up picking up, but the woman looked at me and she was like, "You're not gonna, check out a Colleen Hoover book?" And I was like, "Well, honestly, I've read a lot of her books, but no, I'm not." And the fact that I felt like I needed to explain myself bothered me. Number one, but number two, I felt that I wasn't in a safe space to even pick out the books that made me feel comfortable. Even, sometimes finding books that are like LGBTQIA plus friendly makes me sometimes uncomfortable because of
Right.
looks that I get. So I think it's beautiful that you've created a foundation where people know once they join your group, it's a safe topic and a safe place to bring up whatever struggles that they may be going through or seeing. So kudos
Right.
to y'all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And that's like in Dallas, we went to a black owned bookstore, but in the bookstore, it was kind of scarce of books by black and brown authors. So, like, I love that they have that, but I also feel like just having a bookstore specifically for black authors it's hard because not a lot of people are going in there to get books specifically for that. So I feel like just everyone like being able to use their platform, the internet, to like share what they read. Like I try to share what I read on a daily basis, and I mostly read black and brown authors. I do branch out, but a majority of them are black and brown.
I love that for y'all. Okay, so next question. Something that we have in common is obviously we both are very multifunctional and carry many passions. I think that also comes with the nature of similar birthdays, even though we are two different signs. Um, I think it should comes with the nature of being a January's baby. So after college, you started traveling and you started travel blogging, and I don't know how if you started gaining a lot of traction from doing your travel blogging before it was blogging, or how was that journey? What did that look like for y'all or for you?
I think people knew me for traveling on Instagram, like on social media, but I wasn't active on YouTube. I feel like if I would have combined the vlogging and the blogging, that it would have went further than it had gone. I'm inconsistent with it now. I have been inconsistent for years, which I feel like if I was, then I would be further or like a travel influencer, but it's hard for me to cross certain boundaries as far as like what I'm willing to share. I feel like I do share a lot, but at the same time, I know that I'm not.
Well,
Because
and
if
also
you,
go ahead.
because for me, it's just like I feel like I'm a very much so a in-person person. Like you have to experience me in real life for you to understand. If not, then you're gonna be like, okay, she's crazy. But yeah.
Well, and I also feel that sometimes when, correct me if you're wrong, but if I'm wrong, but sometimes when you're traveling, you're going for your own experience. And I love the word boundary that you just used, because so often we do want to show the world some of our own experiences, but in that sometimes takes away from you taking in the 100% of the experience itself. So I'm
No,
guessing.
I totally agree. It's like when I'm there, it's like I have a bunch of videos, pictures, but at the same time, it's kind of like the fun moments that I'm really enjoying, they're not recorded because I try to immerse myself and be fully present. So
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to vlog unless you're not like, unless you're intentionally going there just to film. And at that point, it's kind of like, okay, I'm
Sometimes.
over it, you know? Yeah.
So I'm guessing that travel influencer is not for you right now.
No, it's not. I made my Instagram private and everything now.
Your Instagram's private now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm proud of you. Like I'm happy. So did you get off TikTok completely? I haven't seen you post it that often.
I haven't posted that much on TikTok anymore, but I'm not off of it. I'm still on there, but I feel like the platform I used the most was Instagram, and I feel like right now where I'm at, it just needs to be private, and I want to not control, but
Yeah,
be aware of like who's looking at my stuff and why. Like, what are your intentions? Why are you here?
I love that. I love that. So during the solo trips, still on that topic, was there a lot of self reflection, self evaluation?
I would say at the beginning of the years that I started traveling by myself, no, it was more so of like avoidance. But as I got older, I would say the trip that I had the most self-reflecting moments would be when I went to Mexico the last time, which was in 2021. I had just finished grad school. I was trying to figure out what it was that I was going to do next, whether I was going to maintain my business, work for somebody, or what was my next step. I think that's when I came back home, I really started doing the work on myself, and like I realized, oh, like when you travel you're happy, but when you come back home you're not, because you haven't dealt with all the shit that you needed to deal with. So I think once I started going to therapy and like actually like looking at myself and like all the things that I needed to deal with, I haven't traveled as much and I enjoy being home. It's like I don't feel the urge or need to go somewhere. Yeah, vacations are nice, but at the same time, I think I'm at this place and age where like I can go for a walk in my neighborhood, come back home, relax, I'm content, or go out and meet up with my friends. You know, it's
I,
like not a necessity anymore.
I love that for you. I love that. Have you ever seen the movie Eat, Pray, Love?
I've heard of it, but I don't think I've ever watched it.
Everyone says that when I ask them, but
Is
I think
that Sarah Jessica Parker or something like that?
yes, yes.
Maybe it was one of those movies I turned on and went to sleep.
It is very slow, but he is running from like a divorce and like all this stuff, and she's angry. She's bitter, and so she's like, I just want to go. I think she ended up going to Peru. I can't really remember, but it was a 14-day vacation, and she was angry for like the first 5 days. She was like, I'm just going to drink. I'm going to party. And then the other half of her trip, she started meeting some locals, and she started realizing that healing starts from within and having to identify what those problems are. And when she came back, she completely changed her whole entire way of living because of that specific trip. And I've always wanted to do like a solo trip. I went to Puerto Rico, but that was for school. I didn't count that, but I had a lot of time to reflect because I was by myself, and I wasn't there. I partied a little bit because people have seen the
You
videos.
got to.
I had a lot of time to honestly reflect and see their way of living and the things that I was carrying here in the States of just, typical. I'm not saying I just felt like, I had way more things to be grateful for. And the petty things that I choose daily to like get under my skin, I really need to work on those things. And
Right.
now that I'm in therapy, I also realized that I don't really need a big crowd of friends anymore or a big circle to run to because the things that I've worked within myself of like, just for an example, like abandonment, that is something that I've worked within. And now I'm not 100% healed from it, but like I'm not running anymore or needing like
Right.
friends to validate to fill that void. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
filling that void.
Or
So,
even to validate you
yeah,
and those feelings. Yeah. No, I completely agree. I feel like once you start working on yourself and actually realize who you are and becoming the person you know you're supposed to be, then those people who are around, they start dropping like flies. And I feel like that's something that I've realized too as I've gotten older and dealt with my things and my traumas and try to heal. I have a small group of friends that I know I can count on and who are very supportive and have like been through that journey with me or this journey with me. So I'm very grateful for the friends that I do have now, and everything happens for a reason. So,
you're exactly right. Your growth is beautiful on you. I just want you to
oh,
know
thank
that.
you.
You're so welcome. So, how many countries have you been?
I think like 16 or maybe.
That's and you went to Japan, or was it China?
No, China. Yeah.
How was that?
Girl. So I needed an elective for school. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna do the spring break trip to Beijing.
Okay.
So I did that. It was a great experience. I don't eat Chinese food here, but the Chinese food there is a 10 out of 10.
Okay. Okay.
So that was probably the highlight of my trip. No. But I also enjoy like different art and like buildings, historical buildings and stuff like that. So just being able to like see a different place and how other people live, it was like really cool. Um, I think it was a shock. I wasn't shocked that I was the only black person there, but for them, they were shocked. Like it was me and another black guy. He was super tall, so they thought he played basketball. But they would stop and ask us for pictures. Like they cannot believe that we exist. And I'm just kind of like,
Wow.
honestly, it got to the point where I was just like, no, I don't want you taking pictures of me. Like you're invading my privacy at this point. And it's like this isn't a show, you know?
So they
Like,
would come up
yeah.
and say, "Can I have a picture?"
Yeah. Like even the little kids would,
What? I mean,
yeah.
so black people don't work over there? I mean, I'm just confused.
I mean, far and few.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it was quite an experience. Um, I would like to go back again just because I want to see other parts of China. It's so huge, but as far as a lot of places I've been with, I think I struggled with like racism or just,
Really?
them being shocked that you're a black person.
Which place would you say was the worst?
Off the top of my head, I would say Italy.
Italy?
Yeah,
Not the place I really want to go visit.
yeah. I went to Rome with an ex, and he's fair skinned. He's Latino, and like the way that I was getting treated, it was just completely different than, he was getting treated. Like they wouldn't let me in taxis. They would tell me to go in another taxi. Um, yeah, just
People
not.
used to talk about that.
I feel like it's becoming
Common.
like common now for people to talk about their experiences in Italy specifically. Like I've never heard someone say that they didn't get treated poorly there if they've been.
That's okay. That makes
Yeah.
really apprehension, like apprehensive. I was having to think, but
Yeah,
um,
it also makes you like be like, "Oh, should I even go to these places? Like, am I going to be safe?" Like, I feel like if you are cautious, you're going to be safe no matter where you go, but at the same time, it's like you want to make sure that you're wanted there and that you're comfortable, and even though people don't value us because of our skin tone, it's just like that doesn't mean that we should be treated any differently. So I do try to be cautious of where I do go now. I have not explored much of like Europe. I've been to a couple places, but I like to go to Mexico. I like to go to like South America
they
and
love
like
us.
the islands.
Mhm,
Like they look like us.
mhm.
So I do want to go everywhere, but I do try to, stay
So
where
where
I'm loved.
has been your most favorite? I'm guessing Mexico or like somewhere.
My most favorite recently El Salvador. I went to El Salvador
That's
recently,
right.
and my friend, she's a Salvadorian, and she was like, "This is the best time to go. It's the safest it's ever been." So I went, and it was so clean, so nice, so beautiful. I wish I could have stayed longer, but I would say like so far that's been one of my best experiences or favorite places.
Now, if this is too personal, you can tell me to be quiet. But how do you budget for trips when you're
Um, I would say I'm pretty like, is it budget friendly?
yeah
So I normally stay in like boutique hotels, not Airbnbs usually, but I do love a boutique hotel normally because it's like local and they're nicer and the people actually like really care about you and they're not trying to overcharge you. I
yeah
try not to do like resorts or hotels just because they can get a little pricier. So I feel like as long as the place is, and the boutique hotels are usually really nice too. So people think, oh no, I'm gonna be in like this crappy place. But no, they're usually really nice, come with breakfast, like authentic food. So as far as budget, I feel like that's where I take the most consideration is the larger accommodations. And then I don't really shop before I go on vacation. I don't have to do the whole 9 yards. Like I feel like that's where a lot of our money goes. Getting
yes.
your nails done, your hair. I will get my hair done every now and then, but something if I can control my budget, the shopping, that's the first thing that goes.
Okay.
Um, Flights, it's hit or miss nowadays, so you kind of just have to plan in advance and then see like, oh, I know I have to pay for this flight and it's X amount of money and it's not going down. Try to get it as soon as possible. And
Makes
then
sense.
usually the food, depending on where you are, the food is relatively inexpensive and good.
I don't know if you've seen this happening, but I feel that with resorts, it is so Americanized that realistically, the U.S. get more of the money than actual the locals or the country that you're visiting. So I definitely agree with you on. I've been a little hesitant with Airbnbs, but the boutique hotels I've found to be the best resort, just so that you're giving back to the actual country itself.
Yeah. Yeah, I do agree. I think a lot of the resorts, you'll see a lot of resorts where we have come in and, building it up and it's becoming touristy and they have an idea of what they think we want, which is, for some people, I guess it is, but I'm just like, the American buffet breakfast, we don't eat this.
No.
We don't eat this. So, yeah.
Were you so I know that we talked about like places like Italy treating you differently, but being predominantly a female, and a female of color, how have you ever felt uncomfortable or scared to be somewhere? And would you give any advice to our listeners on how to protect themselves?
Um, as someone who's traveled like over 6 years by themselves, I have never really felt uncomfortable, and I've done some sketchy things that I probably should not have. Won't talk about that. But um, for me, I think people know who to target. It's you have to have this certain type of confidence, be alert, be aware of your surroundings. I don't drink that much by myself when I'm out by myself or like meeting people. I may have like one or two. I make sure I watch my drink and my food. I don't really take anything from anybody, especially if I am by myself. I think that's the biggest thing is just like be aware of your surroundings and just be cautious. Don't be scared or fearful because I feel like people sense that and they prey on those type of people who are very like vulnerable and fearful of that.
That's great advice. Thank you for that. And then, so changing up a little bit, as the many years of us being friends, one, I've always admired the solidarity. I feel like you've always been okay with being alone, which is weird. Like, I don't want to say that in a weird way, but I think it's beautiful because some people can never be alone. Like, I'm just now finding that space of being able to go to the gym by myself or having just a date to myself, and taking myself out on a date. Whereas, like, from college to now, like, I see how you can have alone time and you're perfectly fine with that. And I think it's just so beautiful. So I want to take a moment and just say that's awesome. Have you always been that way? Like, even as
Yes,
a child?
but it wasn't by choice. So I have two older sisters that I grew up with, and I was the youngest one, obviously. So me and my sister that I'm very close with, well, I'm close to both of my sisters, but the one that's closer in age to me, we're 4 years apart, and then 6 years apart for the other one. So they would always hang out and go different things, or I would just be, my mom just like, oh, just stay at the house with me. So I would have to, find things to do by myself with myself, or like during the summers, I'd go to my grandparents' house and they would stay at home. So of course, I was always by myself as a child, unless, my cousins were around, or, I would go play with the neighbors. Other than that, I feel like I've always found comfort and safety within myself, that it's bad in a way that like a child feels like they're dependent only on themselves. Like, I wouldn't say that I have trust issues, or that I'm skeptical, but I'm very cautious and aware, even as like a young child. Um, I feel like staying to myself was like the safest thing.
Yeah.
Like, I have friends, like I would always be with friends, but still, if I was with them, I'd probably be sitting on the couch by myself, or not really engaging unless,
It
I was
requires.
up for it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and I mean, I just feel like it's space that's needed to be that way. Some people call me emotionless, emotionally unavailable. But I wouldn't consider myself emotionally unavailable, but I'm very selective of what version of myself I allow to be expressed.
Yes,
I'm very
yes.
protective of myself with that.
Relatable.
But I don't know, like, I guess also it comes, like, from myself of not liking to be by myself, comes from when things are silence, you have to deal with the internal voice of whatever you're dealing with. Like, I feel like we all have, something internally that you're dealing with, and then that's when it starts. I don't want to sound as if, I got voices in my head, but I hope
No,
you're
I definitely understand what you mean. It's like, oh, I really got to deal with what's going on.
correct.
For me, I feel like I dealt with that too, but it didn't really bother me because I would just find something else to, distract me, I guess.
Yes, and people was that for me.
Okay. I
Yeah,
think I like just doing things, or like,
I would
finding
be
a
like,
hobby.
let me find a friend to go hang out with. Let me go to the gym with someone. I mean, even like Shelby, I was like, before we got married, that was something that I really wanted to work on, was not being codependent of one another. Because when you've been in a relationship with someone for so long, you can kind of become, you like switch identities. Like, oh, my identity is going to live within you. And we've done premarital counseling. And she was like, so, Carly, how are you being by yourself? I'm not. Like, I don't think I'm okay, because when the room gets silent and I'm having to sit within myself, I realize that there's a lot of effed up things that I've experienced or that I go through, of the reasons why I don't like being left alone, or I don't like being alone, or feeling the need of being lonely. And that's when it started my 100th journey of a new therapist. And now that I'm in therapy, I take pride, because she's like, is there anyone that practices solidarity that you would like inspire or aspire to be like? And I was like, honestly, my friend Jada. Like,
Oh,
as I
don't
think,
make me cry.
yeah, I did. I was like, since we've known each other, she's had the beauty of just being by herself. And I told her the journey of us being at senior week, and you witnessing walking on the beach by yourself without your cell phone or anything. And I told her, I said, honestly, I would have gotten fucking lost. Like, I would have walked on, forgot where my hotel was, and just went walking with the sea. And I said, but Jada eventually came back, And she was like, guys, I just went for a walk. I said, and I just thought that that was so transformative for me because at 18 years old, she was confident in herself. She was solid enough to be like, I don't need my friends to go walk with me in Myrtle Beach in the dirty Myrtle. I can do it by myself. And you've been that way since I've known you. And yeah, I just need to give you your flowers because you
Well,
really,
thank you, but I mean, it is also hard though because being alone so much, it's like I don't know how to ask for help. I don't know when something is wrong, how to let somebody know. That's something that I had to work on. So I do love my solidarity, but I think where I'm at now, I kind of have a healthy balance of that and being able to, count on my community and the people around me that when I am struggling or having a difficult time, that they will show up for me and like I'm just very appreciative of that because I feel like just me being alone so much by myself, like I started deteriorating. That sounds bad. Or like maybe that is the word. Like I get in my mind about certain things and it's just kind of like, okay, you don't have to do this on your own. You don't have to deal with this by yourself. Like go get help.
yep.
So I feel like once I started that journey, of asking for help, that's when I got more comfortable with other people, like being around and being in my space. Granted, I feel like I've had friends who understand that I like my alone time. And I think I pick people to be around that are more talkative and outgoing than me. So I don't have to do it. So it's a balance. So like my friends can come over and talk my head off and they know I'm just going to sit there and just nod or like send them an Instagram post. Like it's just a balance.
Hmm.
So I think that that is an important thing to realize too, that even though solidarity, I'm alone, but yeah, struggling sometimes.
Well, I just think it's still a beautiful thing. And
Yeah.
okay, so on our friendship, so we talked about a little bit how we met, how pretty much we were destined to be friends. What was your first impression of me?
Oh my gosh, can I even think back that far? I I don't even know. It wasn't I feel like I've always been a person who never had like first impressions. It's just the fact of like, oh, if we hang out one time and we click, then we just click. If we don't, then I'm gonna just be like, peace out. But I probably like admire just like how fun and outgoing you were. And I'm like, oh, okay, like I kind of like this. I'm boring. I'm not boring, but
You're not boring. Oh
I'm chill.
my God.
I'm chill. So okay, this could work.
Well, yes, because I mean, I'm very hyper, and it takes a special person to be able to deal with me and my energy. And my first impression of you, honestly, was that you were like the life of the party. So that's why I'm like, for you to be, I took you
Me,
to my extra prom party. Remember, I was like, where are you at? I'm dumping my prom date, and you're going
that
to the
people
prom.
probably think I'm the life of the party because I'm chill. I'm like, okay, I'll come. Okay, I'm gonna pull up. Like,
You're loyal.
okay,
Yes, you will ride. You don't got to explain nothing. Okay, I'll be there in 20 minutes.
I'm coming. Okay, where you at? Now I'll come, but I'm not staying that long.
We have curfews, okay? We're going to bed. We were trying to break curfews back in the day. Now we have a bedtime because I cannot hang at all.
Right. Yeah. But that's
Um,
funny.
and then okay, so now how would you say from? Do you feel like I've changed over the years?
Yes, I feel like you have changed, and I am proud of that change and that growth.
Thank you.
I can tell that you're more confident with yourself, who you are, who you're becoming, and it's very beautiful to watch. I'm very, very proud of you for that. I will say, just like us growing up, we definitely had our differences, and I feel like honestly, those things needed to happen for both of us to evolve as individuals and as friends. So, yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's beautifully said. We're not going to cry today, but Yeah, yes, life is crazy because people always say, like, what was the moment that you realized, something in your life needed to shift? And it was when Khalees moved in. Like, when I took her in, I was like, I have to evaluate what energy sources I allow to feed myself, because those energy sources I'm feeding to a kid that's going to be influenced for the rest of their life. Not talking a kid that was also a traumatized kid. We all have our traumas, but like, that's a story for a different day. And realizing that, I also had to go back to the pot of who were my friends and why, what happened to those friends that really I possibly could have seen myself being able to turn to. Because at the time of getting Khalees, like, it was so detrimental for my whole family that I genuinely felt like I was already depending on Shelby so much, from just being an energy source of living with someone, to I needed friends to call on. And whenever I realized that all of my friends were either distant or something happened, that caused us not to speak as often, I had to look back in myself and be like, in the mirror, Carly, what about you? You need to change, you need to shift. And that's when I realized I started rekindling friendships that actually were gems in my life. And you were one of them. And so I just appreciate the distance, because the distance, I do feel, made both of us grow and evolve as individuals so that we can show up as our best versions of ourselves for one another.
Yeah, I agree. And I think with that distance, it's kind of like you kind of also have a different perspective on how people navigate and handle relationships. I'm stubborn. Everyone knows when I'm done, I'm done. So for you to even reach out to, and people know that. So people don't reach out to me ever to, talk about things or rekindle, and I understand why. But I do appreciate you for reaching back out to me and your kind gesture of taking me out for my birthday. That was very nice, and I'm happy that we are friends.
Same here. I mean, and I never want to go that long ever again. We're putting this on a public platform. We never can go that long without speaking to one another,
Because
because
it was like how
something
many years?
happened in those years.
Yeah, like time flies, and then you're kind of like, oh, dang,
Yeah.
yeah. And then I also think that something that I talk about with my other friends is like realizing like what type of friend you're dealing with. Like, is this just an acquaintance? Y'all go out, have a good time. Is this somebody you can confide in and they can confide in you? Like, what type of friendship you want? And I try to establish that at the beginning and keep those boundaries with my friends so that I don't have certain expectations of them and they don't have certain expectations of me.
That's beautiful. And I am currently trying to label that right now within my work of therapy, just because sometimes you can have like an agreement of, oh, we're just going to be friends that meet up once a month and go grab a drink.
I
And
mean, it may not be a virtual understanding or
right,
written, but it's just kind of like in your
in
head,
your
like, oh, I can. Sorry.
correct. No, you're okay. That is Cree, everyone. But yeah, you have like within yourself,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
within
yeah.
set boundaries of what this person is, and then you don't feel so guilty if they call you or they text you and then they're dumping on you, because then you're like, okay, well, I somehow allowed the boundaries to be crossed in a whatever
Yeah.
way that wasn't fit. So I'm working on that as well,
I'm
because
glad you brought up dumping because I feel like I'm not someone to dump. I do the opposite. But I feel like I'm often getting dumped on. So that's something that I had to work on with setting boundaries with my friends. Like, hey, like, I need you to ask me if you can dump before you dump on me, and vice versa. Like, I am trying to be mindful of them and their situation because I may not know what they have going on or what they may be going through at that moment or if they had a bad day. So it's just kind of like, hey, like, I'm having a tough time. Are you emotionally available to hear my stuff? Because I need somebody to talk to. And I think that's perfectly okay.
I love that, because that was something that has helped my personal relationship. Like, with Shelby and I in our premarital therapy, they were like, you need to check on each other and say, like, what is your energy source at right now? If you've had a bad day at work and you come home, because usually I'll spend like 30 minutes before I come in the house because I just want to leave my work behind. But I'll come home and I'm like, okay, where's your energy at? Because I really need to talk through something or dump. And it has helped us so much because if she's already at an energy level of 10 and I'm at a 10, she doesn't need anything else. So I need to also practice that within my own friendships because, and also if I've ever done that, I apologize. Because sometimes as women, we just be like, life be life and
Let it all out. Yeah.
wrote a whole book. And you be like, I did not mean to do that. And then you get no response.
Yeah. I recently had a girl reach out to me on Instagram and she was like, "Oh, I would like to be your friend." And I'm always open to making friends. I didn't know what type of friendship this would be, but I'm open. So, we hung out probably once and then after that she kind of asked me like, "Oh, why haven't we hung out since then?" I'm like, "Well, you also have to reach out to me." And that's another thing. It's like I'm not going to always be the one to reach out to you. It needs to be like a mutual thing. Like I want to feel like I'm being invited places too, or that you're thinking of me and you want to, enjoy my presence like I want to enjoy yours. But after like we exchanged a couple messages and then after I was like, "Oh, like we could plan to hang out next month." Um and then she started dumping on me. And then that's when I realized I was like, this is gonna work. So I had to politely tell her, I'm like, if you're in need of a friend who you can
Combining.
dump on and confide in, I'm not that person, and that's not what I'm looking for at this moment. It's like friendships is like a relationship,
It is.
and you kind of have to be honest with people. And she took my message, hopefully with the best intentions, because that's all that I had to give her. And
Well, and I also feel that you have to protect yourself as well.
yeah,
And with that, sometimes it's delivering unsettling news. But also, if a person knows you and they
because
have,
I felt so bad. I felt so bad typing that message. I was like,
right,
I'm a
but
villain. It sucks that I cannot be here for you because I feel like I usually am that person who tries to help everybody, but at the same time, it's just like I don't have the mental capacity.
well, and I am proud of you for doing that because a lot of people would just suck it up or they'll go and tell another friend instead of just having that mature conversation or sending that mature text message without having any animosity or haste behind the message that you're sending, but just
Right.
like, this is a boundary that I've set for myself. This isn't you, this is me. It's kind of like a relationship where you're ending and you're like, look, I'm not breaking up with you because of something you did. This
It's
is
both of us because we're not feeding each other at this point.
I'm gonna definitely start working on that because I am an empath and I feel that when you're very empathetic, sometimes people just feel like you can always be that energy source that fills them back up, but then you leave completely emptied and then
Yeah.
they are never it's never a two-way street because whenever you want to confine, and you're like, "Oh," and I've learned also, let me back up, having a therapist helps me not need to confide in friends about things that realistically is none of their business. And it's not,
Yes.
no. So I also feel that people just need to invest in that therapy because I'm telling you, it's the most freeing thing ever. Girl, have me
Okay.
high floating away. But
Well, I'm using all these tissue in this box because this speed right here.
I'll be like, oh, it was just so good to let this out. And my therapist now, I love her. I meet every Monday and we have a great hour session. But also, I feel that if you're not upfront, and I guess also I run people off because I'm just really upfront. I'm like, what are the intentions of us meeting each other? Like, I met this one girl in yoga the other week.
And you told her that?
Yeah, because one, I initially she was like, we should come to yoga every week together. Well, I work out by myself because the gym is like another part of therapy for me. It's a good mental health boundary. Like I can just wash the day away, whatever. And so I nicely told her, I was like, oh yeah, we can go to yoga together. Like I go on Fridays, yada yada yada. And she's like, okay, well, we went to yoga the one day that we met, and that's the only day that I'm going to go to yoga with her because we go and she's talking in the middle of yoga. We're supposed to be quiet, okay? I am trying to get settled in and zen within myself. She's whispering about different things. Oh, I'm not so flexible. I really wish I could be flexible. Ma'am, you're already negative. Like, I can't deal with this. So we leave yoga, and she's like, we should, get each other's information. Well, I always sleep with social media because I don't really want you texting me. I don't know you on that personal note yet to give you my
Oh, girl, I'll block you in a heartbeat.
so, well, I give her my Instagram. She's messaging me on Instagram, and then I invited her to my dance class. And she was like, "We really should hang out. Like, I'm new in the area, and I really would like to, connect and have some friends." And I was like, something in my gut is just not, it's not there. And so I nicely told her, I was like, well, what type of friends are you looking for? Because right now I'm in a place where, like, my daughter's about to graduate. I was like, I have friends that I haven't even really seen and made time for because of the fact that I know that this chapter with her is close to an ending. And I really want to, there's just so much going on with Khalees and within herself that I need to do better with delegating my time, but I haven't. And I said, if you're needing a person, like a friend that you can meet up every week, I'm not that friend. And she was like, well, yeah, I really would like to, pick up a happy hour on Thursdays or Fridays. I'm not that person because
Right.
I just can't guarantee that I
And I
can.
think that's fair. Like, you're honest with her
Yeah.
about what you can and cannot do. If you're trying to go out, that's not it.
And Shelby, she's like, Carly, you're just always so bold and upfront with people that I feel like it scares people away. And I'm like, no, it keeps the right people around because
Okay?
I
Because, like, if somebody who respects you and really wants to be a friend, they're like, okay, well, let me know when you can do what you can do. Or,
don't. I mean, there's been so many things that I've literally put on my calendar to be like, okay, I'm going to Charlotte to do X, Y, and Z with Jada. And then literally, like, college tour. I'm like, birthday, and I'm like, you guys, I have friends, you and Alon in Atlanta. Alon, I hadn't seen her for forever since my wedding. And I'm like, okay, what are you doing for your birthday? Because I try to put it on my calendar and then
yeah.
motherhood just hits me and I'm like, okay, I feel really guilty because I know that this is the
No,
last.
and I think that's the great thing about adult friendship is just being able to give each other grace and being understanding.
Yeah, you're right. And I appreciate the grace.
Yeah. And then some people are just needier than others. I got stuff going on too, so girl, I understand.
Well, I appreciate it. And I promise that I'm going to make a trip to Charlotte because I need to see you and Paris. And I just need to make some time for myself and for
Yeah.
honestly, because my family is going to be here and life is going to be here. But you all are just as important, honestly, if not more important, because you've been here before family and my spouse. And truth be told, you're probably going to be here after my family and my spouse. Because if something happened, you always have to go to your girlfriends and be like, so
Oh, we.
I love Shelby, I love Khalees. But I mean, reality is you guys will always you always center me. If I'm getting a little overweight, I give you permission to be like, Carly, what's
Cut
going on?
back.
It's not
Cut
you.
back.
Snap
Yeah.
back. Yes. So, yeah, I need to make time. I need to make time. So, in closing, we're almost done. What's three pieces of advice would you give to someone who is on the journey to find peace, love, and empowerment?
Peace, love, and empowerment. I would say not only give others grace, but most importantly, give yourself grace.
Yes,
Um, Nothing is in life is ever that serious. Don't be hard on yourself.
I love that.
And the only thing, do your best and take it one day at a time.
Yes, girl.
One
Yes,
day at a time.
baby days. I mean,
Baby step. I'm like, okay. Sometimes it has to be minute by minute, but we'll get through it hour by hour, day by day.
you sound
Okay.
just like me. I'd be like, okay, let me just reset. Tomorrow is a new day. We'll just start all over
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Clean
And then
slate.
if you could go back in time, what would you say to your younger self, baby Jada?
Oh, baby Jada. I would say be more vocal,
Mm-hmm.
learn to listen to yourself and follow your own intuition. Because had I done that, I probably would be better off listening to myself
Mm-hmm.
than, other people. Um, and I would say that you will get to where you want to be.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, guys, this has been a wonderful podcast, and it's always great just being in the presence of someone that you know so familiarly, which I did not know where she graduated high school, but someone that just feels like home, and it's easier just to have a unscripted conversation. And, once again, Jada, I just genuinely appreciate you being a part of season one. I genuinely appreciate you being a great friend and also a constant friend through the many years of so much change and evolvement for the both of us. And,
Thank you for having me. I was so excited when you said you were launching your podcast. I was like, can't wait.
well, and honestly, girl, okay, so I don't even do horoscopes. I'm going to say this and we're going to get off. My horoscope said that I was going to start a podcast. And I was like, this is so crazy because I really am doing this right now. And I had no,
Yeah, and we had talked about it briefly that because we both wanted to do one, but I'm glad you started.
well, the moment that you do yours, I hope that you will have me as a guest because
Yeah,
I would be,
give me like 2 years.
you got a lot on your plate right now. So graduation's coming up. That's the next thing that'll be on your
Yeah,
check.
got to get through that.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in. And until next time, I hope you know you're loved.